teach him how to have a principle to understand the whole, a whole serious things. But my answer is not easy, because you need to have a basic knowledge, and then you can know put all this kind of knowledge together, and then you can know a basic principle. But my answer is not a good one, because I also think we need to have a practical experience. Okay, many years ago, I am dreamed if I can see the chicken's feces and the pig's feces or cattle's feces, I can know what happened about this chicken or pigs or cattle. But since then, I learned this kind of things from one person. But unfortunately, until now, I still confused about that. Until recently, I still confused about that. So I try to study myself. I said, why not try to understand this one? But actually, I can understand most of this part, but still shortage of one. It is the final of my presentation. I will tell you which part I'm shortage about. So you better to understand this kind of things since the beginning. Understand the chicken's feces. What is it? Why I need to understand the chicken's feces? Usually, a good handkeeper has to develop a good sense of poo. P-O-O is mean feces and the urine together. You can call them poo. Okay, they have this kind of common words. I mean, if you want to find the dictionary, it's not easy. Some dictionary now say this is feces and urine. Identification to know the normal form of from the abnormal in the flock. But that is not easy. After I read all this kind of information, I find that the normal and the abnormal is not easy to distinguish. Later, you will find out why. You will find that the range of normal varies between hens, their diets, this time of years, climate, and their overall health. This is related with their feces. Okay, so this is mean you have all the knowledge, and then you can know the principle. Okay, a good research needs good experience on practicals. Otherwise, how can he doing a good research? Please believe me, no matter it's my own student or Thai student. You know, if you are a good researcher, if you don't know the practical things, how can you doing your research work as good as other people? And this is the first one. The second one is, if you don't know the practical things, how can you thinking about the new idea related with the practical? And a lot of people told me, say, all the science not necessarily go to the practical directly. You don't need to do like that way. And from my point of view, only the top, very, very top people in the world, they are doing some kind of physics, they are doing some kind of chemists, they are doing some kind of things. They don't need to know the practical things. But the rest of people, you have to know. Otherwise, how do you develop a new idea? Okay, to solve the problem. Even the totally pure science people, he still needed to think how to solve the problem within next 50 years or 100 years. From the chicken point of view, you eat something in, okay, and then you go pass through the crop. And recently we have a crop problem here. It's due to the contamination of the mycotoxin. not, sorry, mold, M-O-L-D, not lactose, mold. And then you can go to the stomach, okay? And then you can go to the small intestine, and you have to know, you have one very interesting thing called the cecum, okay? Because this is a strongly related to the feces in the chicken, but not in the human being, okay? This is also strongly related with the horse, H-O-R-S-E, horse. Okay, and then go to the large intestine and then go to the vent. Okay, so this is the whole system you have to understand. I think you already understand, but the problem is how to relate with feces is important one. Chicken do not pass urine in the same way as human and other mammals. Instead, they eliminate waste products from the urinary system in the form of urate, the white cap of the feces. You always see a white cap on the feces. That is urate. Urate, you can also say urine. Okay? So in this case, you can see it's not only this one. Later you will see they are excrete the feces almost 8 times to 12 times per day. You have to understand this kind of behavior. Okay? 8 times to 12 times per day. Within 8 times to 12 times per day, you will see once or twice the feces is came out from the cecum. Okay, so the cecum feces is totally different from the feces from the normal intestine. Okay, normal dropping. You can say using the dropping. You can use the pour, P-O-O. You can also using a lot of words. Be careful. You have to understand this kind of terminology. Normal dropping consists of feces and the urate. Digested waste is a solid brown or grayish portion of the pulp. Brown or grayish. Remember these two words, brown or grayish. Why they became grayish? Why they became grayish? Why they became brown? And we were talking later. That is usually firm enough to hold its shape. Okay, the feces are kept with a white urate. We said it before. A healthy drinking processes this normal pour around 12 to 15 times a day, include at night. Oh, I am really interested in another behaviors things. I really interested in another behavior things. That is, if you can using behavior to measure how many times they are urinate, may be related with their stress, or may be related with their other things. So in the future, if I have time, I will like to study this part. Okay, so everyone, if you are interested, we can working together. Sorry.
下播没声音哦。
We didn't hear your voice.
Yeah, I totally missed it.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
可以了，可以了，
Yes.
Can you hear me?
可以了。
Okay. The the pool can be anything from the mustard to dark brown in color and to expel every 8 to 10 droppings. Okay. The healthy feces is not only like this way. Okay. Usually it's the grayish or brownish and with a white cap. Okay. So this is a normal one, but you have to understand normal feces is include many things. Normal chicken poo can range from the brown to green to yellow or even black and all shades in between. Okay, so you have to understand the poo have to be can be a range from the green, yellow or black. Okay, so unless they have certain condition, they will change. So your definition he is ill. You can see this one, okay, with yellow, and this one is also normal. This one is a little bit normal, but also from the thicker, this kind of things, a little bit abnormal, and of course this one is normal. This one is normal, and this one is also a little bit normal, but with a little bit this kind of color, this kind of brown color. It's not dark brown. Dark brown is another color. I will show you later. Okay, you always also will see this kind of pieces. Usually these pieces with a very soft and also with a lot of starch. Their smell is terrible. Okay, so they have a very interesting, sorry, not a very good smell. Okay, very large pop. That is perfect normal. Usually it means they're eating a lot, and then they excrete. Okay, and the sequence pool is good identification and indication that the digestive tract is working properly. If sequence pool have some kind of things change, you have to quite try to understand. Watery black dropping will produce on a lot of days in old berry season. That means they are in the wild situation. They're eating the wild berry, old berry, just like we're eating mango or we're eating some kind of fruits, and we will have different kind of feces. Okay, dragon fruits is one of the very interesting one, because you eat that, your feces will become reddish. Okay, so this is the change. And dropping like this one is a black color, and it's also normal one. In some case, for example, they eat the old elderberry. Elderberries, they will produce like this way. Why? We will explain later. And the normal green pop, okay, you will see a little bit of green from the free range. Here is not totally green, but it's a little bit of green. Later I will show you the totally green. And why is it they have a little bit of green? It's because they eat the grass and also vegetable. If some kind of backyard farm, they feed the chicken with vegetable, and then you also will see the green color. But always remember, if they eat the vegetable and the fruit or grass, they produce this kind of feces, always is solid. Remember these words, always solid. If they become the liquid, that become abnormal. Okay, green pop, this is a little bit of green. Range hand is normal. Free range hand is normal situation. Normal pop with grit in the form of the small stone from a free range. They still have a small stone inside. This is from free range, but because they eat this small stone, and then they will using in their stomach or in their crop. Chickens eliminate waste products from the urinary system in the form of the urate, the white cap on the feces. We said it before, and we want you to understand this is a little bit white. Is also normal because they have more urinate. Okay, digestive waste is in the solid brown and the grayish portion of the pulp. So usually it's firm enough, its shape. The feces are kept with a white urate. Okay, and you also can see this firm is also normal for the chicken. Okay, don't suspect that they are not abnormal. They are all is normal. Okay, and this is also normal. This one is also normal, but a little bit wet or a little bit, can I say, is a loose, in the loose form, loose, loose form. So in this case, maybe they will change to become a disease situation. Maybe they will not. Okay, so we have to understand this kind of is also the normal one. The black chicken pop, you will see the black one. The total black one, sometimes don't worry, because you see some kind of, you eat some kind of vegetable, fruits, or something else, they will become the black. I will discuss this part later. And this one is you can see the green color here. Unfortunately, sorry, my photo is not a good one. You will see a little bit of green here. That means they are eating the grass. Okay, so this is also the normal one. In some cases, they drinking too much water cause wet pop, and the following condition will cause too much drink. The first one, too hot. The temperature is too high. Feed too salt. Feed contain too high protein. Feed contain too high calcium. And feed contaminate too much mycotoxin. All this will induce the chicken drinking lots. And once they drink a lot, remember, they will cause wet pop. That is mean very dilute or wet pop. And this wet pop, that is sometimes you will not easy to distinguish from the illness. But you have to understand all these kind of things. You have to try to find out all these kind of things. For example, many people try to using higher salt in the chicken diets. Many people try to feed their chicken higher protein. The higher the better. The farmer always think the higher the better. That is not true. And some kind of layer chicken farm or some kind of ordinary chicken farm, once they find they have leg problems, they always ask the feed mill company to increase their calcium. But that is not true, because all these kind of things will increase the water, drinking water, includes mycotoxin. Wet pop is also caused by remember, this all can cause a wet pop. It's a very dilute pop, feces. Okay, and but you always try to understand they also caused by the bacteria and the virus. This is also very important one. In hot weather, don't be surprised to find your chicken pass watery pool as they increase their water intake to help them cool down. Eating lots of water-based food will produce watery dropping too. This is another sample. But this one you have to understand. They also have a little bit of trouble on the too much urate But also need to be careful. Maybe they have problem on kidney problem, because if you have kidney problem, they will have more this kind of urine came out from the urine. Okay, so we have to be careful to understand. Chickens that are under stress produce more liquid than usually. The basic principle is, if you, for example, today you are catch the chicken, 你今天抓鸡, or you are transport the chicken, and all this kind of stress increase the blood pressure. So if you chasing them or pick her up without warning, she may release a running pool. Okay, in Chinese called 屁滚尿流. Okay, that is the good words to describe this kind of situation. So their feces and urine will come together and contain higher water, so they will become the 稀便. Okay, dilute feces. Eliminate stress. So you have to eliminate stress. All the stress can cause the abnormal feces. So you have better to eliminate stress. The stressed chicken makes you digest upset for quite some times. For example, your teacher give you stress, ask you to working hard. You always will have this kind of stomach or intestine eggs problem. Hey, egg, the problem. Okay, I know these things when I was a child, because my mother's student told my mother, say they always will get stomach ache when they go to the mathematical examination. Okay, so you can see this is very important. If it's particular hot, particular cold, or if there are anything fighting to or other change your flock. For example, you change the flock, you change the cage of flock, you might notice a change in the color, texture, frequency of the pop. Okay, the pop will change. Chickens that are stressed have a tendency to produce more liquids than normal stress, increase blood pressure. Okay, than normal, because stress can increase the blood pressure. You have to understand this part. And in this kind of situation, you can see it's too hot. Okay, because they have evidence that it's too hot, so their excretion will be very liquid, in liquid form. Drinking too much also. Okay, and you know, this kind of too liquid situation usually will cause mosquito or fly. Okay, usually is a mosquito. Okay, so this is a very bad situation. Also, the smell will be very bad, because solid feces usually not easy to become totally fermented. Not totally fermented, they will not produce enough ammonia and H2S. So in this case, you will find too wet is the big trouble. It's not only attract the mosquito, but in some cases it attract the fly. Okay, you have to understand one thing. If too much water, they will produce more mosquito. If too little of water, they will produce more fly. This is a very common knowledge you have to remember in your heart. And so this kind of situation, if you have wet feces, and then you will find that your bedding is become wet. And once your bedding became wet, you always will produce a lot of coccidius problem. Okay, because coccidius will develop in the wet situation. And this is also the too much water, and also have a lot of proteins material in it. That is because undigested protein and also urate. Okay, and of course this is also maybe due to the E. coli GI tract disease, and another one is young chickens white disease, young chickens feces white disease. We call it 除白痢, okay, and 梭菌 and also intestines, parasite, okay. Parasite is also cause this kind of things. If your hands free range and have died in grass, I said it before, green pop is normal. And why is a green pop? In some case, it's not eat the grass or vegetable. In some case, it's caused by the bio system, because bio is in green color. Okay, bio secretion is blue. Okay, you can say green, but you can also say it's blue, a little bit of blue. Dark green is become blue. Okay, so be careful about this. And the intestine line may drop. Intestine inside is a line. Okay, and this kind of line also can be dropped. This is quite normal. It's not abnormal, because line maybe will die, or sometimes it's due to the disease. We will say later, discuss this later. But in most cases, they will discharged and drop. So once their line drop, you also can see in the feces, and you can see very clearly. For example, this one is a good one, very good one. This 3 picture have shed intestine line in them. Quite normal, not a cause of concern. You can see this one. Last few days, 2 weeks, I can see this one in our chickens, experiment chickens feces. And this one, this kind of situation is a line came out, and the line came out. You have to distinguish the line came out and with the blood. Okay, we will show you later what is the blood. If your chicken eat vegetable, we said it before, if you are sure your chicken did not eat the vegetable, and then you need to be guess whether your chicken get one of the following disease. Why? Because one of the following disease may cause damage about the liver or bowel system. That is AI, avian influenza, Newcastle disease, Marek's disease, internal worms, for example, some kind of worms, this kind of roundworms, or Salmonella rhosis, or early stage of coccidials. Okay, so this is we have to be understand. Green chickens pop. There are plenty of not so begin condition that can cause yellow pop, include the coccidials, internal parasite, kidney problem, or typhoid. Okay, so all these kind of things you have to understand. At the moment, I think no any veterinarian are interested in to understand whether the pathology people always try to understand whether this kind of disease will cause problem of the bile, liver, intestine, or small intestine, large intestine, or any kind of secretion, this kind of secretion part of organ. So you have to understand if this kind of disease can cause a damage, and then they will excrete this kind of green. For example, this one. Okay, maybe people always say it's maybe Newcastle disease, maybe AI, or maybe some other disease we mentioned it before. And you also can see this one. The chicken suffer with Clostridium and Prefinger's. And then you can see also the green one. Okay. And in this case, you can see ND is Newcastle disease, AI is avian influenza. Okay. Even the white blood systems, erythrolyte, this kind of disease. You can see this kind of green color. And the green color usually with a little bit sticky. And then you know maybe it's due to the disease. You cannot 100% sure. If you want 100% sure, you have to be analyze them. But the problem is analyze, you need to take time. So you better to give them injection first. And in the environmental change, and you also can see a little bit light green color of the feces. And why? Because environment change will cause stress. And stress sometimes will cause the biosystem get pressure and have more secretion. And once they have more secretion, and this is due to adrenaline, okay? And then you will find the feces will become a little bit green. And usually this is a firm green of the feces, green feces. Okay. Secretion abnormal, so you have to understand which kind of things will cause secretion abnormal. I think still not very clear to understand. And some kind of infection disease. For example, here he mentioned about the Newcastle disease, this kind of white crown disease, cholera, CRD, and all this kind of disease. Okay, so you maybe can understand this kind of disease. But usually the virus disease, you cannot help. You only can give them some kind of antibiotic that is try to affect the second infection. Okay, otherwise you cannot solve this problem. The same happen in the pigs. Okay, if you have this kind of virus disease, you never try to find out the way to solve it 100%, because you can solve, let them maybe survive due to the antibiotic, because this antibiotic is not kill the virus, because antibiotic cannot kill the virus. Okay, so we have to understand this. And sometimes this is also due to the weather change. We said before. Sometimes this is due to the we using because they have warm. Okay. Another very important thing is fermentation feed. This is a basic principle. Okay. So-called basic principle is using in all kind of things. You can using here. You can also using in the silage making. You also can eat it using in the DDGS. When DDGS making, you also have this kind of fermentation. Okay, fermentation feed usually have a dark color, from yellow, brown, dark brown to black. The feed go to small and large intestine will become yellow, brown. If feed go to the cecum, remember these words? If they go to cecum, then they will become very dark color. For example, black or some other things. Why? Why they will become like this? When feed come, because don't see the red color, the line still stay in the green color of this line here. Okay, because once you have fermentation, if you have anaerobic situation, and for a little bit longer, and then your feeds or your things will become totally black. Okay, the same thing like DDGS. If DDGS became dark brown, and then people will say, or black, even black, and then people will say your DDGS quality must be very bad. And if your DDGS is light brown, and then people will say, oh, your DDGS is very good. That is not joking. This is developed by the Kentucky University. They found this kind of color is relating with digestibility of amino acid for the corn. Okay, so you have to understand this kind of fermentation. If they are fermentation to some kind of extent, and then they will become black. Okay, if over, they will maybe become dark brown. Okay, and then the next one, when you feed the content of higher iron or copper or blood, higher iron or copper, and the feces will become black. Okay, and if the blood, because blood have a higher content of iron. So if the stomach breathing and small intestine breathing, they also will cause this kind of black color or green dark brown. Green dark brown is caused by biosystem. And why they will cause it becomes black? It becomes because the blood or iron or copper, once they become oxidate, and then they will change color to the quite deep color. Okay, you can say it's a dark color or you can say it's a bright color. Okay, this is very important. For example, if you eat the spinach have a higher content of iron, and the spinach have a higher content of iron. So if the higher content of iron you eat, and the next day you will have this kind of black feces. I say the human being. Okay, because when I served in agricultural council as a part-time job there, okay, for 3 years, and somehow people will always come to me say, what happened to me because my feces is a black color? Am I get the stomach ulcer or intestine ulcer? I said no. Can you remember what kind of things you eat yesterday? And if they say that they eat the spinach or this kind of things, I will think they will have problem on the iron, too high of iron. Okay, once they have too high of iron, their feces always black color. The same thing happen in the pigs. Okay, the secret of the small intestine that we mentioned earlier, they need to eliminate the sticky content of several times a day. Fecal pop is a good sign that the digestive tract of your chickens is working properly. Okay, it can be any color from yellow to even black. So if you see it's all this kind of color, sometimes don't worry about that. It will have a different texture and the color than the rest of the dropping. If you still don't believe, did you see if you clean the ditch, if you have experience to clean the ditch, and you always see the ditch, the bottom of the ditch always is a black color. And why is a black color? Because they are fermentation. And once they fermentation, finally, they will become this kind of black color. Okay? But if the sequence pop, and not any other kind of pop, will be the unmistakable smell. Okay? Because sequence feces, they stay there. They from the small intestine go to the large intestine, and sometimes some part of the food feeds, sometimes of the digester will drop into the cecum. Okay, for the human being, we will have second disease. We will have very painful. But for the chicken and for some other animal, they do not have this problem. If they drop into this kind of cecum, and then can you see, they will become the anaerobic fermentation and keep there for a while. And if this time is too long, and then they will become anaerobic fermentation. And anaerobic fermentation always causes terrible smell. Okay, so if you smell this kind of feces, it's terrible smell, and you always will know. Fortunately, this is a sequence feces. Okay, but if sequence feces always contain too much about the black color, too much about this kind of dark red color, and then you have to know this is causing by the disease. You can see they becomes a black color. Okay, and occasionally they also will have this kind of feces with yellow color. But remember, sometimes it's due to the E. coli, sometimes due to some kind of parasite. Okay, this is also we have to be noticed. Black chipping pop can be caused by the internal bleeding. Okay, we said before, iron, copper, and also intestine internal bleeding. Okay, internal bleeding also can cause this kind of black feces, and sometimes also come from the second. Okay, so remember this kind of things can be happen in the environmental change. Okay, and once the environment change, and then you will find the bacteria is change, and the bacteria change, and then they will cause some kind of different color come out from the second. Okay, and sometimes they will saw this color is not you. Some people say it's black color. Some people will say this is a soy sauce color. Okay, soy sauce color is also indigestible things. Okay, we said before this is a normal one, and then we will consider about the blood. If you can see the blood, sometimes will be totally reddish color, and sometimes will brown. The fresh blood is red color. The brown or black color blood has been oxidized. Be careful about these words, oxidized. Okay, so you always see the blood is in the fresh color, fresh red color. That is most come out from the large intestine or second. No, not the second. It's a vent, V-E-N-T, vent. Okay, because that is near outside, and the near outside place they do not have oxidized. They do not have oxidized, so they will not become oxidation of this blood. And once the oxidation of the blood, and they will become the black color. Okay, or dark brown. Okay, so this is very important to understand first. Fresh blood is always from the large intestine. If they have black or dark brown, and then sometimes from the stomach, or sometimes it's from the small intestine. Bloody dropping can indicate the coccidius, a highly contagious parasite disease of the intestine. Okay, and you can see this coccidius produce the blood in the feces, and this is also this kind of produce this kind of things. Maybe it's due to the worms. Okay, maybe due to worms, or maybe due to some other things, but usually it's due to worms. You can see they will become very dilute. Very dilute is due to drinking too much, or they cannot digest. Okay, and the early stage of coccidius, you can see this kind of situation usually is early stage of coccidius, but also can be caused by the salmonellosis. Okay, salmonella causes this salmonellosis. This is we have to be very careful. And of course, if you can see this kind of color of the reddish, that is usually is coccidius, or they maybe have some kind of hurt in nearby the vent, or nearby the end of the large intestine. And if you see this kind of color, and you always will notice this is due to this is a very typical coccidius. Okay, if you see this one, of course, if you see the blood with this kind of things, with a little bit of sticky liquid, you always need to suspect that this is due to the coccidius. Coccidius is easy to distinguish, but you still need a microscope. Okay, this is important things. You may find a dropping with a small amount of red tissue. It looks alarming. That is a perfect normal, and it's just your hands shedding intestine line that constantly regenerated. Large amount of blood are not normal and should be investigated further. So if you have small amount of this kind of dropping with red color, you have to be understand that maybe it's due to the line. And I said before, the line inside of the intestine, large intestine or small intestine, you will see this kind of line is drop. Sometimes it's due to the metabolism, so they will come out. Okay, occasionally. And you also can see this kind of red color and also the pink color. Okay, you can see here have a little bit of pink color. Okay, this is due to a lot of disease. So my suggestion is, if you see this kind of disease problem, if you see the blood, always give them coccidious drug. And if you see only the blood, not this kind of sticky things, and you always provide them some kind of drug, antibiotic, okay, or sulfate, then you can solve the problem. But once you get some kind of virus, don't dream to solve it. That's not easy. Okay, I said it before, if you see the black color of the feces, sometimes it's this kind of food is rot. Okay, and once the food is rot, and then this kind of food will become black color. Okay, sometimes it's poisoned by the agricultural pesticide. Okay, and of course, the occasionally is due to the cold stress. Okay, as mentioned earlier with pop, nothing to worry about. White pop is nothing to worry about. Why using this kind of background is green and with white? That means we have white pop, white feces, and what we can do. Okay, a fully white pop can be caused by a variety of things. It is common when your chicken have been drinking more water than normal to have been eating waterlogged food. Okay, and the white pop can also be caused by the kidney damage. If you have kidney damage, or you have stress, you have internal disease, or you have vent grid, and then you will cause this kind of white cover. Okay, you can see from here, this is a white covered with a lot of sticky things. You were thinking about this kind of thinking is too much urate. Okay, 尿酸. Okay, so in this case, you can see this is a problem you have to understand. It's caused by this part of things. Sometimes it's orange chicken's pop. Could be leader poisoned coccidius or coccidius, but usually it's harmless. It's caused by the sloughing of the intestine lining. Okay, remember, occasionally if you see this kind of orange chicken, and of course you need to treat them. But if you treat them and the second day this kind of things disappeared, that will be normal things. Okay, remember, this will be normal in most of the case. Uric acid crystal are dropping in a chicken's pop and is expired at the same time. Uric acid is white color, so you can know the white color. Okay, and usually it's white color. Of course, you maybe also have say we call the white score. White score is one kind of salmonella disease. Okay, so this kind of things we try to understand. This may be due to the white score. We call the 白粒 white score, and also maybe due to the uric acid deposition. Okay, so we have to understand. Occasionally, you have to understand this is due to the egg transfer. This kind of tube have some kind of problem. Okay, we have to be consider about this. But unfortunately, until now, nobody tell us this. Okay, if this kind of things happen in this kind of shape, too much white in a solid feces, that means you eat too high about the protein. Okay, or due to the urite 那个子宫卵巢对不起，子宫发炎那因为子宫的到输卵管之间的这种发炎 usually will cause this kind of white color. Too big of a white color. Okay, you have to understand, or too much you provide as a protein. too high of the protein. Undigested feeds. This is very common in many people say that this kind of things. That is, you can see. So what does it mean undigested feeds? You can still see the corn or some kind of feeds inside. Corn is most easily to see because corn have a particle. This kind of particle is always shown on the feces. Okay, so we have to understand if temperature too high, temperature is too low, or drinking lots of water and cause undigestible. If undigestible, then the feed will undigestible. Okay, so this kind of situation, the farmer always will complain to the feed mill company, said your feed is not good. But we have to understand. Try to check whether this farm is too cold or too hot, or drinking too much, or sometimes management have some trouble because they are always try to make a noise to the chicken, and the chicken also will get this kind of stress, and then will have this problem. And of course, the last thing is if this kind of feeds is storage too long, and then if they have some kind of problem, its particle size is too big, and also will cause this kind of problem. Okay. If drink too little, I'm not quite sure whether you have this problem or not. Okay. Sorry, when I was young, I have this. Sometimes I have this kind of problem. Okay. You can see, this is a typical interesting things. If you're drinking too little, and your protein is too high, your calcium is too high, and then you will find that your feces just as hard as like a pullet. Okay, so you have to understand, if you saw this one things, that is mean your management have trouble. One of my students, he look after the chicken, and then when I went there, I saw this kind of feces on the ground. I tell him, said, your management have trouble. He said, why you know that? I'm working very hard. I say, no, maybe you are working hard, but or maybe you are not working hard, but you provide the chicken too little about the water, so they will have this kind of feces. Okay, so remember, if you want to become a good manager, if you want to become a good researcher, people, you need to understand all these kind of things. Okay, and of course, if you saw this kind of situation, you have to understand they are in the molding situation. In the mold situation, they will have a drop of the feather. Okay, if a lot of feather is dropped down, they are in the mold situation. Or if your management have trouble, they are in the fasting stage situation, they also will have a feather dropping. Okay, so be careful. If you are a good manager, you always know whether your worker is working hard or not. Otherwise, you are not a good manager. Okay, this kind of things is not happen. Say you become the good research people, you can avoid all this kind of practical experience. No, because if someone help you to do experiment, or you are doing experiment by yourself, if you saw all these kind of things, you will know your management will have big trouble. And of course, parasite. Sometimes parasite is always influence on the feces quality. So next 3 slides, you will be a little bit feel disgust. Okay, you will find the parasite inside of feces. Okay, so worm. Okay, this kind of tapeworm is even discussed because tapeworm, every part of the tapeworm, they can develop, become a worm. Okay, this is a terrible things. Sometimes it's not easy to dealing with it. Okay, then next one you will have sometimes is this kind of diarrhea, or you can say is a scald, and they are due to the worms. Okay, you have to understand that if they due to worms, they will look like this because they already examined this chicken. They have worms. Occasionally, you will see a large pile of the brown pulps are super common in the body bloody hands because she's only leaving her nest a couple of times a day, and she only has the opportunity to pop a few times. And once they only can have defecation only a few times, and their pile of the pop is the feces and the urine, the pipe of pops will become large one. Okay, and the pop is going to be sticky than normal too. Okay, this is you have to understand. If you see the large pipe of the pop, you have to understand. Sometimes it's not due to the management. Sometimes it's due to the laying hen. So they go out to lay eggs occasionally. Say when say defecation, so they will defecation in a large amount. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your attention. Any question, comments, and suggestion? I'm not quite sure whether you are asleep or not, but I'm quite sure you cannot easy to go to sleep because that is always discuss the feces and the urine. Any question, comments, or suggestion? Chad, I never saw you so happy. Why? Because you see the feces?
Yes, Professor.
What you say? I cannot hear.
Yeah, I enjoy with the pieces.
Oh, okay. Because you know, you and Li Sujun, you are doing the laying hands experiment now. So I have to tell you all these kind of things. Any other question or question you want to ask?
Professor,
Yes.
Can we anticipate like most of the digestive disease?
Sorry.
It's disturbing me.
Can you speak loudly?
Can we anticipate the most of the digestive disease just by looking the feces? Can we anticipate it?
You mean can we expect that this kind of disease happen?
Yes, from feces.
Yes, of course, but it's not 100%. I will say nothing is 100%, but you can expect if you know from the first day and then you immediately give them treatment, then you will solve problem. If you already see many times and then you give them some treatment, you never can solve problem. Okay, you can see a lot of researcher, they never know how to dealing with animals. So why their experiments become a success is because they don't know how to dealing with them. Okay, so this is very important, and otherwise you cannot easily do success. Can you understand?
Yes. And my another question is how the stress related with the feces, different kind of stress. Professor, we cannot listen you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Now we can hear.
Under the heat stress, you will always see the very watering feces, watering pop. Okay, and once you see the watering pop, you know you have trouble. If a lot, usually happen is a lot. It's not only. Okay, so you know the heat stress. But in your situation, it's not easy to cause heat stress because it's 21, maybe as high as 22 or lower 20 Celsius. Okay, so if you want to no, in the future, if you want to see the finished experiment, you can provide them more hot environment, then you can see these kind of things happen. But don't do now. Okay.
Yeah. Last time when I did the experiment on broiler on that GABA in different temperature, like I saw in the hot temperature, the feces is like more watery and like green, kind of a little bit green. But we just feed them the normal diet, right? So
this is of course because two things. The first thing is drinking more water. The second thing is under stress, the biosystem will secrete a lot, so you will have this kind of green color. Did you make photo of Abasan?
yeah, I did.
Can I get one of the photo from you? I can see. Okay, no. I mean, when you have time. Any other question or comments, suggestion?伟俊，你有没有注意到他问的问题比较多？为什么会他问的问题比较多呢？因为他做了这个现场，所以他问得出问题来，这就是一个重点。如果你没有做过这样子的事情的话，你问不出来的。我就是在跟你形容，你也不容易了解那个状况。虽然你会有一个大体的感觉，但是你不能够知道那个细节。所以两件事情，一个就是你读多一点，那第二个就是你做多一点。我笑得很阴险哈。来 ，any other question or comments?
Excuse me, Professor.
Yes.
I saw from some of your picture about the feces. I found some feces has a foam. Like
yes.
when the chicken is having a disease and then the feces having a foam. So can I make a conclusion if I found foamy feces? So it's indicate if the chicken is having a disease.
In some case you can say, but you sometimes yes. In most cases you maybe can say that, but in some cases you cannot say that. So this is very important. If the second day the forming situation is serious, you can say that. But on the first day, why? Because any kind of fermentation can be happen. Any fermentation can have form. Can you understand what I mean? Okay. So this is a very important. Fermentation always cause form. Can I say something? Tomorrow you cannot eat. You don't want to eat your bread because the flour is also fermented. So the bread will become fermented. So it will become large, just like feces. Tomorrow you still want to eat the bread? Okay. So this is quite common because anytime if you have fermentation, they will become form, F-O-A-M, form. Okay. Any other question or suggestion?
Yes.
Yes.
Professor Hsia, thank you for your information. I have one question because you give us many information about the picture at the beginning of this slide that some photo I also think that they are abnormal physics. Yeah, but my question is how we can apply this information to manage the chicken or feeding the chicken.
Okay. First one, if you say there are lots of water, and if you try to understand whether they are under the heat stress or not, and try to understand whether we provide them higher salt or higher calcium, CaCO3, calcium carbonate, and if all this is excluded, they still have these kind of things. That's a disease. You have to exclude the normal things first, and then you will find their disease problem. If you see the green color, and you, of course, you will see whether this kind of green color is due to the normal one or not abnormal one. Because normal ones usually is it is a vegetable or grass. Occasionally, will a little bit bile come out, but this kind of bile cannot be last for 2 days. So you know they are disease problem. Okay, and once you see the blood, and we will know sometimes they are due to the lying this kind of intestine line came out, and this is only occasionally, not always. But if always, okay, we have to know they are become very serious. But if the blood came out from the chicken, the number one consideration is coccidius. And so you can see this is very easy to make a decision. Okay, but if you see the green, very green color of the feces, you have to understand. If only one is okay, no problem. If you have a lot, for example, 5, 6, 7, if you have 100 and you have 5, 6, 7, 10, and then you will very curious to suspect that your chicken get the Newcastle disease or even avian influenza. Okay, so this is depends on the your judgment is depends on the situation. You can judge according using exclude method, exclude this method, exclude that condition, exclude this condition, and then finally you can make some kind of decision. But before you make the final decision, if too late, that is usually is not good. So the best way is if you see this kind of blood, you give them some kind of drug to eat first. Okay, I'm not totally agree. My good friends, Professor Tsai, also don't agree. You're always using PCR to make a diagnosis. If you're using the PCR to make a diagnosis, maybe all the chicken is died. It's already gone. Okay, so you have to make a decision, say which kind of disease maybe they have this kind of problem. Okay, this is my suggestion. Any other?
Can we give example? Like I have a seminar class, and my student they feed chicken like they have a bedding material, and in our country we are always hot season, and then when the chicken drink more water, so the defecation, the feces is always wet. Yeah.
Yes.
And from your information, most of disease cause and appear on the feces is always become a wet situation.
Yes.
Yeah. So how can we like how can we solve this? How to call that? Normally,
how can we solve the wet situation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because this wet situation is not a disease problem, right? And then later
at the beginning, later will become a serious disease problem. Wet always cause disease, no exception. But we cannot say later. Later is always cause disease, but at the beginning, no.
Is it different state will cause different characteristic of the feces of the chicken or not?
Yes, but once you are waiting too long, your feces is already wet too long, and you always cause disease. Why? we said before in our environment temperature course, we said if you are wet is the best cultural source for bacteria, and then you will get the problem for this kind of bacterial disease. But once the bacterial disease is developed, and then the second virus disease will develop. Okay, so how to avoid? Because professor always says what is the symptom, but I will say how to avoid. How to avoid? You can use in different way. For example, if you are in the small room or small animal house, you can add some kind of fan, FAN fan, increase this kind of evaporation cooling method. Not using water. I mean using the fan to reduce this kind of heat stress. And once you're using the fan, and then you can reduce the heat stress. I think you know our office is no air conditioning. Okay, so at the moment I only using the fan behind me. Okay, I'm expecting you will donation some kind of money to help me to build up the air conditioning. Sorry, that's just a joke. That is just a joke. Is that okay? Any question? You know, if I talking to you, say we can use wet pad forced ventilation system, and then some other farmers will complain to me, say, no, I have no money. So the best way is to tell them, say, you can use in the fan. Because in the pig house, you can also using the sprinkler, but in the chicken house, you cannot using sprinkler. Once you're using sprinkler, you will get even worse.
Okay, thank you.
No, you're welcome. Ezra, any question?
One of the slide that you showed to us, there is a corn in the feces, which indicated that the corn is undigested. So I'm thinking that can we say that for the poultry or for the chicken, if we can make the feed or the raw material of the feed is more fine, more smooth, then it will more easy to be digest for the chicken. I mean, those kind of the particle will not come out to the feces, and maybe reduce work for the gizzard of the chicken.
You will soon become a professor. Do you know why? Because the chicken's beak is very sharp. They cannot easily to pick up the fine feeds, and so they will become hungry. And you will always see a lot of residual inside of the trough. So I said you will become Prof immediately, because Prof always says this kind of impossible things. Sorry, I'm just joke. Don't angry. Okay. So my suggestion is you are right. If you can let the things more fine, and then they will more easy to digest. Two ways to solve these things. The first way is you can make a little bit fine of your corn. But the second thing is even better. You can make very fine your corn, but make them become pellet. And once they become pellet, and the chicken can immediately pick and then get one. Every time get pick up, and then they can get one. Otherwise, they are too tired. Did you notice in our experiment at the moment in the climate chamber, Chet and Lee, they are doing at the moment. Did you notice one thing very interesting? They are providing a meal instead of a pellet. Is that right, Chet? Jet, is that right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And why? Because this is animal welfare. Can you believe or not? Because we usually provide the feeds for the laying chicken is a little bit lower. So if they eat the pellets, they can immediately finish all the pellets. And then they have nothing to do. You know, that is why I ask you, Susu, Chad, and your wife have a lot of work to do. So you will not become abnormal mind. You have many things to do. Okay. This kind of joke is I already talking too many times. So the Susu is no smelling at all. The rest of you have smelling. Because, you know, if you have nothing to do, the chicken will become abnormal. And once they become abnormal, they will have feather pecking. They will fighting with each other. Okay. If you have a lot of things to do, why you need to fighting with other chicken? So we provide them meal. But for the broiler, no way. Broiler will provide them. The only thing is the pellet. Because we want them eating as much as they can. Is that right? So this is a very interesting things.
Thank you, Professor.
No, you're welcome. Any question, Wei Jun?
I want to ask one thing is when I feed the boiler in a very hot situation surrounding like around 34 Celsius, and what else can I do to let them lower the heart stress?
Heat stress. Okay.
Yeah.
The best way, you know, if you always continue more than 32 Celsius, your chicken will have a big trouble. But fortunately, in the ordinary situation, we have a day and a time, day and a night, this kind of rhythm. In the daytime, we are very hot. And in the nighttime, we are quite cold, quite comfortable. It's not cold, it's quite comfortable. So we can we can open the lights for the broiler, not for the layer. We can open the lights for them even in the evening. So in this kind of situation, you will find they will eat in the evening. So they can eat more food. And in the daytime, you will find they are very peaceful. And you may think I am a professor, so I'm just the blow off, train you, these kind of things. No. One of my students, about 40 years ago, he's come from veterinarian department. I asked him to do the behavior observation for the chicken. And he found that all the chicken is very, very quiet within the 24 hours. Because our temperature is set on the 32. And all the chicken is very, very quiet. No move at all. And then he got a problem. Because his behavior observation only can say laying, 24 hours laying. So he said it's not interesting. Then he did one thing. He using his finger to touch the chicken and try to wake them up. After touch, the chicken, the broiler, immediately pass away. Immediately pass away. And he is really surprised, and he told me, why he passed away so easy? I touch him. Because his heat production is already become maximum. And if you touch them, and they will have another exercise. And once they have another exercise, and then the heat production will even higher. Okay? then he just gone. Okay, this one is I never forget. Okay, this student is a good student. He's a veterinarian student. So how to solve it? Eating in the night, or give them fan, FAN. Yes, 通风扇系统. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Any other? Neolita? Where is Neolita? Okay, Susu first.
I have two questions. For next, I will continue for next question. Maybe we can solve the problem for the weight liter using the high-res way. But I'm thinking that if we use the high-res way, is that more difficult that to check the menu complement? Is the first question.
The first question you said again. Sorry, I have English problem. It's not your English. I cannot catch you.
Okay. If we use the management with the high-res way,
High rank.
high-res, 高床饲养.
Oh, high race.
Yeah,
high race
way.
floor.
So we can avoid the weight liters. But in this kind of management, maybe we'll have some difficult to check the feces because all of the feces is under the mesh. So the difficult will be higher than the chicken is only on the floor.
Yes. We are doing this in the Palau. So we found one thing is very interesting. If you have only 1 or 2 chicken have wet feces, I will not think. Sorry, I will not find they are getting a big problem. And if we found a lot, then we will think they are a problem. And a lot you can see underneath of the mesh floor. Can you understand what I mean? Can you understand my English?
Yes.
So in this kind of situation, the observation became very important. Another thing is, if you have 1 chicken, 1 cage, that is easy. But if you have several chicken, I think you said is in several chicken, in the broiler situation, you have a lot of chicken together. The only things you need is watch. Okay, I actually watch this kind of thing in Palau, and one day I found a lot of chicken have a green or blue feces. I said must be have some trouble, and I told the farmer, said you must have some trouble. He said no way, we are doing very well. And then I said maybe your water provide system have some trouble. And he don't believe me. Okay, then 那个金门那个家伙叫什么？洪恩。Then I asked 洪恩 to open the storage tank of water. My goodness, underneath is totally black color. And why so many black color? It's because you have a lot of mosquito or feed dust or something else accumulated them, and then he became nothing to say. Okay, otherwise his laying chickens rate is very low, and since then he has a great improvement. So we have to make a decision, say to watch everything. It's not only watch one thing, say whether they have disease or not. If we only watch them whether they have disease or not, we become professor. Okay, and we need is just like Ned said, we need to solve the problem. To solve the problem, the best method is thinking. Wei Jun, I also said the same thing. You have to thinking about the different method I said the first is whether the trough is too dirty, but the trough is okay. But the water system became very bad. Okay, the second question.
Usually we use the chicken manure to become the compost or for the NPP source for the ruminant. So if the feces, because all of the feces is just the mix with the different farm. So I'm worried. I'm thinking that if the feces have some parasite or bacteria or virus for the company with the compost or for the UDP company, how can they treat with it?
Okay. Actually, at the moment, in the broiler farm, I'm not answer your question. Okay. At the moment, in the most about the broiler farm in United States, they are doing like this way because there are shortage of money. If you buy the bedding material, for example, rice hull or sawdust or straw, you need money to buy it. So they are shortage of money. So they actually change the bedding material to one time per 2 years. Per 2 years. That is a quite a long time. 2 years is a very long time. So how do they dealing with this kind of bedding material? They have 3 methods. The first method is compost this kind of bedding material. How to compost? They put all this kind of bedding material together, became a hump. Okay, became a hump. And then let them fermentation and spray water on it. And why spray water? Because have a little bit of water, they will have fermentation easily. So they are fermentation very easily, and then they can, after a while, for example, 7 to 10 days, because feces contain higher protein. Broilers' feces contain higher protein, so they can compost in a very short time, becomes a very higher temperature. And once their temperature increase, and then they can kill the bacteria. This is a part to answer to your question. Okay, and once they increase the temperature higher, and then they kill the bacteria, and then they kill all these kind of things, parasite. But be careful. My friend found this way have some dangers. That's on the surface or on the bottom. This temperature usually is not high. So in Americans, they are after 7 days, they're turning around once and put them together again and let them ferment it again. And once they ferment, they have second peak of the temperature. Okay, PEAK, peak temperature. And then they can kill all these kind of bacteria. This is the first method. The second method is they use fire. Have one special fire machine. This kind of fire machine goes very slow. They tear, TILL. They tear this kind of bedding material first, and then they using this kind of fire machine to burning all the surface area. Remember, this kind of burning will not cause big trouble because sawdust and the rice hull and the straw cannot easily to burning. So they just goes very slowly. Why go very slowly? That they will kill all this kind of bacteria. Okay, so they go once and go twice, and then turning around again, and then go once and twice. So they can save a lot of money for bedding material. The second method. The third method, at the moment, they are getting lower and lower people to use it, but it's very useful. They're using aluminate 氧化铝 oxidative aluminate oxidation, this kind of ALO2, this kind of things, and also combined with phosphorate. You know, in some kind of phosphorate acid, they can kill the bacteria. 这一次小旺的研究哈，this time is Xiao Wang's research, I found these things very terrible. That is, the company, JR's company's acid is already not as good as before. Okay. And before they can get improve the performance a lot, but this time they cannot. It's not this time. Last time, whose experiment is also show this acid cannot improve. So you can see you have to be enough phosphoric acid, and then they can kill the bacteria. Okay, if they do not have this kind of phosphoric acid, they cannot kill the bacteria. So they can using this kind of thing, spray in the bed of the broiler. These three methods they are using very common. But why they do not using the third one is because the third one at the moment cause pollution problem. Because if you say they spread too much about the phosphorus, and then the phosphorus will pollute the soil as it become compost. Okay, so this is a problem. But if consider about only the using as a feeds for the ruminant animal, the first two methods is okay, no problem. Any question? Two Thai student, do you have any question? I have to encourage you to speak English. Okay, please.
Yes. If we do the experiment and we would to collect the feces data, and I would like to ask about how long that we should collect this data.
Okay. You better to ask your teacher. That net. Okay. Okay. The method is like this way. You collect every day at least 2 times. At least 2 times. You collect them and then put into a big tank. The high tank. At that time, your teacher always avoid other people to using his tank. So he buy by herself. Okay, he spend money by herself. And put into the tank. And in the tank, you put the HCl. And also you put boric acid. Okay, both of them, the boric acid is try to become to let them not become mold, and the HCl is let the acid is becoming lower, so the feces nitrogen will not release into the air. Okay, if you do not put HCl, the nitrogen will release to the air very soon, and then your experiment is not accurate. So one part is using the boric acid, B acid, okay, and another method is HCl. We always put like this way, boric acid, yes. So you can using these two methods to preserve for usually it's only 1 week. Usually this kind of experiment is 5 days to 7 days. Okay, 5 days to 7 days. So 7 days you can put all these kind of things, mix them together. And once they mix them together, you have to do one thing, very serious. Okay, many of my students do not doing these things. That is weight, W-E-I-G-H-T, weight the whole things. And then you mix them evenly, and then you sampling part to make analysis. The total weight is become very important because total food intake of feeds you can know, and the total weight of the feces nitrogen you also can know, because your analysis is only for 1 gram or 2 gram, but you can change this 1 gram, 2 gram becomes a whole ton of the feces, and then you know how many feces they will, how many nitrogen they will discharge into the feces, and then the total food nitrogen intake are as a bottom one, and then the total feces nitrogen becomes total food nitrogen minus total urea nitrogen, total feces nitrogen as a bottom one, and then you can get the digestibility. Okay, and if you want to get the metabolism, and then you digestibility is using feces only, but the metabolism is minus the feces and the ureans together, and then you get the metabolism and then metabolism protein or energy or even the minerals.
I think Evelyn asked because she did one experiment that she have to collect the feces of the pig and did not analyze the nitrogen or etc. And I just asked her collect the characteristic of the feces and color and shape or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. You know, if you analyze the digestibility or metabolism, your scissors will increase value. Okay. Otherwise, it's not really. You will
And I
get
make joke because I did not get any budget for her because I did one experiment for metabolism and that spent much money for us. And for her that she already spent money for buy the pig feed.
Okay. Okay.
So we did not
So
analyze
in
for her.
this case, I better to ask her to analyze all this kind of performance first, and the performance became very important. And if you can find from the find the interesting result from the performance is not easy. I have to say this one because many students just say, this is not good than that one, that one is not good than that one. They just finished. No, you have to understand why. And once you know the why, and then the interesting things is come out. Can you understand what I say? Maybe a little bit. Another student with short hair is not here. Oh, I can see her now.
I wondering something. Yes, Professor. If it's contrast with your mention about the wet proof or wet species in chicken, wet species is become with the had too high temperature, too high salt, too high protein, calcium, and something like if in contrast with this information, if the chicken will got lower calcium, lower protein, it will have effect in appearance of species.
Good question, but I have to tell you one thing. When I say lower, it's not say lower, it's normal. Okay, because most of the farmers always ask higher protein, higher calcium, so my leg will be more strong. My performance will be much better, but that is not true. You can see from the recent literature, if you provide the higher lysine, higher protein, the performance will not going on as linear as you want, So the best way is try to compare with normal. If you feed too high, and then you will get trouble. And because if you feed too high, it's not because protein is because the protein will increase your metabolism. And once you increase your metabolism, you need to drink a lot of water. The water is is a very key point for metabolism. Is that right? And if you eat too much, too high protein, and if unbalanced, that's even worse. And if unbalanced, they will produce a lot of heat. We call it heat increment. And this kind of heat produced, and then you will feel thirsty. You will feel heat stress. Okay, so in this case, you also need to drink a lot of water. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question, comments, or suggestion? Okay. If not, we already near 47 of 9 o'clock. Okay, please switch on all your picture. 停止显示是不是 ？Okay, I think one person your picture is one of Thai student. No, this is who is this? 淑君，把灯光用亮一点，不要再擦胭脂、擦口红了，把灯光弄亮一点。Okay, because Miss Lee want to take a picture, and why take a picture? So in the future can prove Net is attend the meeting, and the student is attend the meeting too. 伟俊，头抬高一点。好，1、2、3 ，OK。A little bit of smile 好了吗 ？OK OK OK OK。Thank you all of you. Good night.
Good night.
Everyone.
See you. Bye bye.
See you. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
结果打完疫苗怎么样？
哦，你看我现在还是那么的 strong。
哦，结果打什么疫苗
？Moderna。
OK. Good night. Bye bye.
Good night.
教授，那个教授，
请说。
那个我那个时候在暑假的时候有养一批肉鸡，然后因为我们养在开放环境，很热，然后我们只有电风扇，没有水帘，因为那是临时从仓库改过来的。然后如果他们真的很热的话，然后那时候我们有买那个 B complex 加在水里面，然后主要是那个 B12吧，我记得是，然后好像还是 B2忘记了。老师说比较可以缓解那个热紧迫。那我是要全天候都要加，还是只有在热的当下或者是热的之前，就是 morning 的时候加比较好？
其实讲真话，所有的维他命加上去以后，有一点点的效果，但效果不会很好。这个第一个做研究的人是，我今天还看到他的名字，我很感慨，他是台湾人，是中兴大学毕业的，在加州California 大学读博士学位，他的博士论文就是加这个 B2， 但是我们得到的他们得到的结果就是有改善，但是并不特别的显著。OK， 这是第一个。第二个，如果真的要加，你没有办法说加白天或晚上，因为饮水里面加就是加在泡的饮水里面。那然后呢，就是让他整天就要喝那个水了。
这样子，如果整天这样子
B2 并不贵，
但是如果这样子泡，像这种 vitamin 的东西，它不是过久了它就会降解掉了吗？就是如果我加下去太久之后，
基本上来讲，这种 B2 的话呢，不容易降解，你大概一天的水就把它喝光了，所以你第二天还要再加，通常都是你就是第一天的降解了，也只剩下一点点了。
好，
对不对？
了解，谢谢教授。
但是呢，我的建议的话，这个方法不是好方法，是可以的，可以解决掉一部分的问题，但是 他们有的时候是加 B6，就增加它的摄食量，但是热总是还是要用热的方法来解脱它比较。
增加摄食量不会因为它进食太多，然后产生更多的热。
对啊，所以你在这种情况之下，唯一的一个方法就是你要增加降低室温了，也不是降低室温而已啦，就是你用通风或淋浴的方法，你就可以。鸡的话呢，你用通风的方法或水帘的方法，你就可以降低它温度很多。那降低温度很多的时候还没有用，还必须要靠风速，这个风速还要够，风速再把你身上的热量全部都带走，你从这边吹过来，热量就带走了。这个风速很了不起因为它是每秒1公尺半，那每秒1公尺半，你就是每秒都在把你全身的热量都带走一次，带走一次，带走一次。哇塞，这个带走了那么多热量以后，你就自然凉下来了。
那如果我们那时候是养的是平湿的方法，那平湿会不会因为它的腹部都靠着粗糠，所以导致热量都积在腹部？
会有这种可能性，所以说呢，有时候这种可能性就是腹部这里都全部都出问题，
就是都没有毛，然后都会有一点一点的出血点。
没有错啊。那所以你根本就卖不出去。
还好是卖学校里面骗老师卖。
哇塞。
OK， 好，那谢教授，谢谢，
拜拜。
拜拜。
Good night.
Good night.